about the future of the scientific research. Scientific research should be a major driver and player in order to improve healthcare services provided for communities, especially in Africa and in the Arab region. There are a lot of positive examples in the Arab region and Africa. Here in Egypt also we have a lot of this. How can we affect the role of scientific research as a main player and a driver in order to tackle many challenges, whether environmental, health, and this was represented in the unique pioneering experience in the cooperation between scientific research and the Ministry of Health in order to control one of the most prominent diseases of which the Egyptian people suffered for long. And this was not an easy task. We could only realize this when we partnered with the scientific research, healthcare, and the gracious support from His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, because he launched the campaign of 100 million of healthy lives to control HCV. And now we are witnessing the third phase of this campaign. Millions of people were examined, screened, and many others are receiving medications. I would like again to warmly welcome you, and I would like to welcome the key speakers here. To my right, I would like to welcome Mr. Thomas Eliub, who is an British entrepreneur. He is one of the most influential people, and his origin is African Caribbean. I would also like to warmly welcome Professor Safa Anyang, the AU Commissioner for HR, Science and Technology. I would also like to welcome His Excellency Professor Khaled Abdel Ghaffar, Minister of Scientific Research and Higher Education. Also, I'd like to welcome Dr. Hala Said, Her Excellency Minister of Health and Population. Here we have a guest, but also an owner, Dr. Bekhit. He is the CEO and founder of Panacea Innovation. He comes from an Egyptian origin. He was ranked among the most influential people under 30, according to a British magazine, and he has many contributions in the health sector. Also, I would like to warmly welcome Professor Chas Montrose, a professor of translational medicine in Newfield Department in England. And I would like to also warmly welcome Ms. Frances Gary, Director General of WIPO. Mr. Gary, I would like to start with you. WIPO is a very important organization, and to what extent the WIPO conditions could help or rather hinder the transfer of technology, and especially in the health sector, because we want these discoveries and inventions to reach as many people as possible, especially in developing countries, and we're speaking here from the heart of Africa.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, honorable ministers, thank you very much. Well, I think you have, if I may say, put your finger on one of the most complex and difficult questions that we confront in the area of health. We all know that without health, we have nothing. And so it is perhaps the first policy priority for any government. But we face two major tensions here, and those tensions are...
Can you ask that man to pass...
We have faced two major tensions here, and those tensions are that, on the one hand, we need to have innovation. We need to be more innovative than the microbes. And the microbes are extremely innovative. And that requires investment and an innovation ecosystem that encourages investment in innovation. On the other hand, why do we have innovation? Well, we have innovation in order to be able to share the social benefit of the innovation. in order to make it distributed across society. And those two policy tensions, I think, come into collision fairly constantly. And furthermore, they come into collision in a world in which technology is increasingly at the center of economic strategy and competitive advantage. So nobody is going to give it away easily. Yes. We know this from experience. And it's a world in which there are enormous disparities in technological capacity right across the world. And there is a great risk with the speed of technological development and the radical nature of innovation that is occurring at the moment, that the differences in technological capacity around the world will be exacerbated and not made better. So, how do we deal with this? Well, traditionally, as you've said, the international community across several decades has thought that the instrument of transfer of technology is the best way to deal with the collision of these two policy tensions. Because I think what we are seeking, after all, is balance. A balance between two imperatives. And transfer of technology, I think we have to disaggregate it. It's a large term, and we have to break it up into various components. So one part of transfer of technology is obviously looking to foreign parties that have technology that is needed. And here, I think we have an international legislative legal framework which deals with flexibilities and gives the possibility for countries to exercise flexibilities in the event of an emergency to deal with their own particular local circumstances. To that we must add, I think, a number of practical initiatives, such as partnerships between governments, research institutions, universities and pharmaceutical companies. We have one, WIPO Research, which is a partnership of 141 companies, universities and governments, national institutes of health, where the objective is to share free scientific, unpublished scientific data and intellectual property for the purposes of neglected tropical diseases.
لكن إلى أي مدى هذه الشراكات ترى بأنها إلى أي مدى تعتقد أن هذه الشراكات في مجالات أو قطاعات الرعاية الصحية التي تحتاجها الدول النامية والفقيرة هل هي في الدول أم لا؟
Does this come at the heart of the research? Because of course there are many research done on chronic diseases or communicable diseases, and this is very, very expensive because companies want to make money. That's why they monopolize this research. But what about the developing countries' need? Is that at the heart of the partnership?
It's at the very heart of the partnership. It's the whole objective. And so part of it is capacity building as well, and that is bringing scientists from Africa and the Arab countries through to laboratories in universities in some developed countries, and also to spend 1 year at a pharmaceutical company.
Okay. طيب ده وجهة نظر الملكية الفكرية، وطبعا بكل تأكيد هذه إضافة قوية الحقيقة. أدعو حضراتكم الآن للاستماع إلى كلمة المدير العام لمنظمة الصحة العالمية
to the General Director of the WHO, Mr. Teller, who wants to address this gathering. This is a very important speech about his vision on the priorities when it comes to partnering between the healthcare sector and scientific research. The floor is yours, sir.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you for the invitation to speak to you today. And I'm really sorry that I can't be with you in person in Aswan. One of the most fundamental challenges many Arab and African countries are facing is the lack of access to quality, affordable health services, including quality, affordable medicines. One of the best ways to improve access is to invest in local manufacturing. A reliable supply of quality, locally produced medicines can improve access, but it's not a quick or easy. It takes careful planning, hard work, patience, and a relentless focus on quality. If medicines are of poor quality, they can harm patients, waste money, and erode the most precious commodity in public health, trust. There are 3 ingredients to success. First, an overarching government strategy and plan. Second, strong regulatory systems that ensure quality and safety. And third, an enabling business environment to build the knowledge and skills of the pharmaceutical industry, including technology transfer. Working together across UN agencies, industry, and government, we can create a world where everyone can access the quality medical products they need. I thank you. Shukran jazilan.
شكرا جزيلا للمدير العام لمنظمة الصحة العالمية الدكتور تدرس أدهانم على هذه المشاركة القيمة وأتحول للبروفيسورة سارة أنيانغ مفوض الموارد البشرية
Sarah Anyang, AU Commissioner for HR, Science and Technology. Professor Sarah, I was honored a month ago to listen to you in Addis Ababa in the AU headquarters in the presence of Mr. Musa and His Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. You were distributing awards and prizes for African scientists. You were very inspirational, Madam, in this ceremony. Allow me to ask you, how do you see the incentives provided for African young people to encourage them to transfer technology coming from abroad or to innovate in Africa here?
Thank you very much. I want to recognize the person of His Excellency, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who is here in this hall. And I want to say that when the political will has a health vision, then definitely the people in that society will have a very good health care. Because when we speak of health care, we speak of well-being. And the African Union adopted in 2015 that long-term Agenda 2063. That Agenda 2063 vision of an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own competent and skilled citizens, cannot be realized without making sure that health becomes wealth. And health becomes wealth when we have the right kind of food in our stomach. So you see, this question of scientific research, the future of scientific research and healthcare is very, very essential. And I'm even wondering why I am sitting here when people like Professor Khaled Abdel Ghaffar, a known surgeon, is sitting here. But I'm going to speak from a layman perspective, because what I want to say here is that our agenda, the continental strategies put in place to make sure that scientific research gets to its highest place are what? The Science, Technology, Innovation Strategy for Africa. And that Science, Technology, Innovation Strategy for Africa is a 10-year plan that was instituted in 2014. And what we are saying there is that STI and R&D must be given the highest place in society in such a way that we consolidate on it and get the transformation of the Africa we want. And speaking about CSIR, I'm proud to say that His Excellency, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, is one of the champions of 10 for the promotion of education, science, and technology and innovation for the African Union. 10 presidents were chosen, and Egypt is one. And I'm proud that he has a passion for infrastructure, and that he has a passion for youth. Having said that, healthcare, giving grants to our students or to our kids is very, very essential, because many of them have the knowledge, but they don't have the means. How do you strategize on that to give them the opportunities to become the renowned doctors, that we can be calling our society. The African Union, in our educational strategy, the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, 2016-2024, came up with a flagship program that we refer to as a Pan-African University. And then the Pan-African University, there are 5 in number. The Pan-African University for Water, Energy, and Climate Change, the Pan-African University for Science, Technology, and Innovation, hosted by the University of Jomo Kenyatta of Technology in Kenya, representing East Africa, and the Pan-African University for Life and Earth Sciences, hosted by the university, including Health and Agriculture, hosted by the University of Ibadan. So in these schools that I've mentioned, the African Union Head of States sponsor students at graduate level for master's and PhD. If you're on the master's program, you are given $800 every month for 2 years for your master's program. If you're on the PhD program, you are given $1,100 for 3 years to do your PhD in the health sector, in agriculture, etc. The world all over now is speaking about nanotechnology and biotechnology. CSER, priority 1, says that we should recalibrate on biotechnologies. And recalibrating on those biotechnologies, we need to go back to our roots. That is why I said I want to speak as a layman. What happens to our indigenous traditional medicine? How do we transform our indigenous traditional medicine? In our different societies, when you are sick, they will say that this particular tree can treat malaria. The science of how it treats malaria, they don't know. But they know that when you use it, you will be able to treat your malaria. Now, they can tell you that if you use this, if you have a running stomach, this particular plant can help you in solving the problem. How can we use and upskill science, technology, and innovation in such a way we transform our traditional medicine into drugs that can be used? So for me, the future of scientific research and healthcare relies on African traditional medicine, where Africans can use what they have to treat themselves without relying on. Further to that, we should give scholarships to students to work on African traditional medicine so that they can use traditional medicine in a way using modern technology. That is where the scientific research comes, and that is the future of scientific research and healthcare. So what we have to do is to use modern technology to standardize African traditional medicine and use of medicinal plants in healthcare delivery. Because African traditional medicine and use of traditional plants have to be developed to use side by side with Western medicine, as is the case in China, India, and some other countries. So the use of scientific research or Western technology to improve our traditional medicine is the way forward. But can we kind of seduce the youth of Africa to come towards this particular healthcare section using biotechnology and nanotechnology by giving them funding? Because if you don't give them funding and the right kind of education, they will not be able to realize that dream. So I believe so much that science is very, very important. And in that light, speaking of science, I still believe that when the political will has a vision, then the people will not suffer. And it is in this right that, Your Excellency, I want to congratulate the government of Egypt for winning the hosting of the African Space Agency purely on merit. So the panel was very impressed by the political engagement and participation at the highest political level, because the presentation was even done by His Excellency Professor Khaled Abdel Ghaffar, which they did not find such engagement with people. So I believe that the future of science and our healthcare and the future of this youth sitting down here, who can become our surgeons that operate without killing, who can be things, is when we put the right scholarship in the right place and give them an impetus to work for the transformation of the Africa we want.
Professor Sarah,
Professor
عندنا في
Sarah,
مصر لدينا تجربة
in
للاستفادة
Egypt we have an
من العلماء
experience in
المصريين
making
في
benefit
الخارج.
of
عقدت
the scientists we have
أكثر من
abroad
مؤتمر
that participated
لمحاولة
in
عودة
many
هؤلاء العقول مرة
conferences
أخرى إلى
that
مصر
we call
وإفادة
to come
المجتمع
back to
المصري
Egypt
منها
to
حتى من
benefit
خلال
the
تواجدهم في
Egyptian
الخارج.
society.
ترى بأن القارة
You
الإفريقية
can see
بشكل
that the
عام
African
بحاجة إلى هذه
continent
التجربة
needs
الاستفادة
this
مرة أخرى من
experience
مواردها
to
البشرية
reuse
it's human resources that is outside. And these experiences, the technological experiences, and we use it again.
Yes, and that is why in the African Union, we consider the African diaspora as the seat region of the African Union. And we normally, that's why there is a center in the African Union Commission called CEDO, that is the Center International for those in the diaspora. And what you've said is right. There is a lot of brain drain. Even when we send our kids out to study abroad, they finish abroad and they stay there. Why? They cannot see themselves coming back to Africa where there is no conducive environment, where the infrastructures are not there, and when the salaries are nothing but an apology. So why should you leave a lucrative job with good salaries and good condition and come back to Africa? That is the reason why we are saying that transformation of the Africa we want must have a paradigm shift. From the way we think, from the way we see, we should put the right structures in the right place. Then those kids will not go abroad. Or if they are abroad, they will yearn to come back home. So I think all this is an integrative approach. And there must be a synergy. I get my education, give me my right salary, because job motivation is job satisfaction.
Yes. شكرا جزيلا
Thank
السيدة سارة
you so much, Professor Sarah. And now, Mr. Francis Gary, he has another commitment in Cairo. We thank him so much for his presence and contribution in this session. We wish to see you soon. Okay, so now I give the floor to one of the leaders of developing scientific research and application of
Mr. Chas Pontra is a professor of translational medicine and clinical medicine in Oxford University. Dr. Pontra, sorry, how can R&D research and development, especially in multinational companies or big pharmaceutical companies responsible for healthcare services, how can these companies be a tool to tackle many of the chronic diseases in the third world countries, especially in Africa?
Thank you very much. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much for the invite here. I'd like to make maybe just 3 points. Firstly, across this planet, across Africa, across this region, in Egypt, we are facing some major global challenges. Now, in healthcare, you know, we need new treatments for cancer. We need new treatments for diabetes. We need a new generation of antibiotics. We need new treatments for 7,000 rare diseases across the planet. We desperately need new treatments. These are some of the challenges or the problems we face. Let me just share with you a couple of numbers. So there are 7,000 rare diseases on the planet. That adds up to 350 million patients. 30% of those children do not reach the age of 5. It takes anywhere between 6 years and 8 years to diagnose one of those diseases. And 95% of those patients have no treatment. Can you imagine being a parent of a child with a rare disease and there is no treatment, and you gradually watch the child die? That is what is happening. These are big problems. The second thing I'd like to say is that for me, the biggest asset you have, we have, is people. I believe individuals can change the world. I think of people like Bill Gates. I think of people like Steve Jobs. I think of people like Elon Musk. I think of people like Bezos. These people have changed the world. They've created new industries. They've created thousands of jobs. They've created many millionaires. And they've created considerable personal wealth. Individuals can change the world. Egypt, I believe, is full of people like that. Let me share with you just 2 examples. I came to Egypt for the first time last night, and this morning I chatted with a wonderful young lady who's sitting over there named Sharma. She's 21 years old, she's doing a degree, she works in media, but what inspired me about her is she is so passionate. She wants to make the world a better place. She's so sensible, she's passionate, she wants to make the world a better place. That was the first person I spoke to really at length in Egypt. The second example I would give is my dear friend sitting next to me. I've known Mina for 4 years. He did his DPhil degree in Oxford. He is one of the smartest people I know. He's an intellectual giant. He's a visionary. He's an entrepreneur. He's humble. He's a leader. It's people like Sharma and Mina that are going to help us crack some of these problems. I work in an 800-year-old university. Our job is to produce future talent, future leaders, future entrepreneurs, future visionaries. Mina is a fine example. The third point I'd make is the only way to tackle big problems is by partnerships, by creating win-wins. Even in Oxford we have lots of smart people, we have lots of resources, we have lots of infrastructure. But we can't tackle these problems on our own. We have to work with other universities, we have to work with companies, we have to work with policymakers, we have to work with regulators, we have to work with governments, and importantly, we have to work with other countries. We have to work together, focus on the problem, and that's the way to come up with solutions. So my final comments are, healthcare, the future of scientific research in healthcare, I absolutely believe is in the hands of the youth of today. The World Youth Forum, the Arab Africa Youth Forum, people like Sharma and people like Mina. Thank you.
دكتور بونترا أريد منك نصيحة
I would like you to give me advice, to give advice to the youth in the African continent and in the Arab region,
في مجال البحث
how
العلمي
to enter in the field of scientific research to
كيف
serve
أو ما هي
their
النصيحة
societies.
التي توجهها إليهم؟
What's
أيضا
the
ما هي
advice you
النصيحة
would
التي
give to them?
توجهها إلى
Also, what's the
حكومات
advice you
ودول
give
القارة الأفريقية
to the
والدول العربية
governments of the
لمحاولة
African
تعزيز
countries
أو
and the Arab
تسهيل
countries
المهمة
in a bid
لهؤلاء
to
الشباب في مجال
facilitate
البحث العلمي؟
for the youth in the field of scientific research?
I think the advice I would give is, and I say this to many of my colleagues in Oxford, I keep saying, focus on the big problems. Let's not worry about the little things. Let's focus on the big problems, the things that really matter, the things that really are important to the world, the things that are likely to change the world. That's what we need to do. That's one. I think the second thing I would say is, I've been fortunate, and I said this to Sharma this morning, I've been fortunate because I have had wonderful teachers. I've had wonderful supervisors. I've had wonderful coaches, and I've had wonderful mentors. And it's by working with people like that, that as youngsters, when I was young, I would get inspired. And so I would encourage youngsters to go and work with the best, wherever they are. In Egypt, with Mina, in the US, in China, wherever, it doesn't matter. The world is one big place. Let's not worry about national boundaries or institutional boundaries, etc. Just work with the best people. If you want to tackle difficult problems, that's the only way to do it. I suppose the third thing, of course, inevitably is you do need the funding. But I have to say, I never worry about funding. I always worry about what's the problem? What's the science I need to do to tackle that problem? Who are the best people to do that science to tackle that problem? And I believe if I've got those three things sorted, the problem, the science, and the people, I will always get the funding.
Thank you so much. شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور تشارلز بونترا.
Thank you very much, Professor Charles Bontra, for your invaluable words.
نتحول الآن لواحد من المؤثرين في المجتمع البريطاني، واحد من رجال الأعمال الذين لهم إسهامات فيما يتعلق أيضا بالقارة الأفريقية، ولم ينسى أبدا موطنه الأفريقي له الكثير من أيادي البيضاء في القارة، السيد توماس سيجون إيلوبي. أرحب بك سيد توماس. برأيك كيف ترى حال الاستثمار في قطاعات مجالات البحث العلمي والرعاية الصحية والطبية في القارة الأفريقية؟
And we know that regardless of your presence in Africa, that you have the African continent in your heart.
Absolutely. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting me. I think the thing that I'm interested in as an entrepreneur is how you can take research from universities and in healthcare and in scientific areas and have real-world impact. And the approach that I'm interested in is how you create spin-out companies, because it's so important for the youth, particularly that there are a large number of spin-out companies that are created and that the intellectual firepower that goes on in universities results in real-world impact. There are three things that I think are important in this regard. One is focus, two is finance, three is culture. On focus, and in particularly in healthcare, the thing that I'm very interested in is the application of artificial intelligence to healthcare. We have to understand how fundamentally healthcare and science in general will change as a result of artificial intelligence over the next 10, 15 years. And we mustn't allow ourselves to fall behind in that regard. Countries like South Korea, last year, South Korea announced that it was committing $2 billion to artificial intelligence to become a world leader in that area. And a big area of focus of that was going to be using artificial intelligence in healthcare. We, as in our region, in Africa, in the Arab world, in this region, need to think about what are we doing in a material way in that regard. Let me give you two quick examples of the sort of things that are happening. There's a small company in Nigeria that is using AI to detect how babies cry in order to spot very slight changes in their patterns so that you can spot whether there's any possibility of the baby dying in the cot before the parents know about it. And they're using AI to do that today. There's another startup in Africa where people can send in their symptoms via text messages. The AI will analyze the symptoms and reply immediately with what they do. That's like immediately having hundreds of millions of doctors available across the continent. So with AI, you can have an immediate impact. And I think we need to get much more focused and not get left behind in that area. The second area is finance. So as young people need mentors, of course, but mentors without money is not going to make an impact. You have to have the finance. And we need to think through from the early stage grants to the seed funding, to the venture funding, to the scale-up funding, where is the finance that is going to take entrepreneurs on that journey? And are there any gaps that need to be filled in order to address that? And governments have a key role in that. Maybe from a taxation point of view, in the UK we have a scheme called EIS, Entrepreneurs Investment Scheme, that makes it very attractive for wealthy people to invest their money into startups. So it's not the government investing money, it's the government creating the tax environment to make wealthy people pull the money out of their wallets and invest it in startups. Really important. The final thing is culture. If you're going to create these startups, you need to have a culture that is very comfortable with failure, because there's going to be a lot of failure. So you've got to have a culture that doesn't mind failure. You've got to have a culture that moves fast. If we say we're going to create 2,000 startups in Egypt in the next 5 years, well, we need to create 20 in the next 6 months, 200 by the time we come back next year, 2,000 5 years after that. It needs to happen quickly. Not too much discussion, we get into action. So I think the future is bold. The future is very positive. We need to train, as was mentioned. I have a school, for example. I set up a school in Ghana, a girls' science and technology academy. We take girls from all across Africa. We give them full 100% scholarships. And from day one, they start studying artificial intelligence, machine learning, science, technology, because that is where the future is, and that's where we'll have an impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas. Africa has an ambitious agenda to be achieved by 2063. As one African individual who is very influential inside and abroad, do you think of entering into partnerships with Ms. Sarah and Young? Can we work hand in hand to achieve this long-term agenda and plan?
Absolutely. So what we have is, as was mentioned by my colleague, people. We have over 1 billion people, and that is the key resource. People talk about oil, talk about minerals, talk about this, that, and the other. The key resource is people and their ability to make use of their brain power. We have an astonishing capability. We had a 15-year-old girl at my school who did A-levels in maths, further maths, physics in 1 year, and got the highest scores in the entire country, and then was immediately snapped up by a US university. I don't understand how we can let people like that leave the continent and go off to other places. We need to have the ability to retain those people. But the great thing is that if you look out over the next 50 years, it's all about brain power. Those resources follow from that. It's about brain power, and we have the people. So if I can help in any way to make that happen, then I will get involved.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ayobi. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ayobi. Now I would like to give the floor to one of the examples that I personally and among many youth, we are very proud of Dr. Mina Bakhit, an Egyptian who went to the UK to study medicine. He has many achievements and accomplishments. He has transformed 100 ideas at least into a practical application in therapeutic and curative applications, and he has never forgotten his Egyptian origins, and he is here with us to participate hand in hand to provide the best healthcare for Egyptian citizens. Dr. Mina, you are warmly welcome here, and you are the founder of Panacea Innovation.
Dr. Mina,
I think that the rights of developing countries in Africa and the Arab region should have a share of technology transfer, and you are one of the excellent scientists making us proud abroad. How can we transfer and then resettle this technology? Thank you so much for this kind introduction. Thank you all. And I would like to thank His Excellency the President of Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Excellencies, the distinguished guests. This is a very, very important question, but we should agree first on something, that humans are innovative by nature, either by curiosity or by needing something, whether this has to do with health or not. And as we say, necessity is the mother of invention, especially in the MENA and Africa region, because innovation is the tool that we should use in order to transform much of the ideas into practicalities. But we should take certain things into consideration. Innovation alone is not enough. This should be coupled and supported with solid scientific research, and this scientific research should have inputs and outputs to be transformed into effective technology. This technology should be the nucleus of startups, the startups that Thomas referred to, because we need to get funds and competence to develop these startups in order to make technology an affordable product in the society and for the economy. And this is the process we have in Panacea. I'm very proud to found this company during my PhD study period in Oxford, and I enjoyed this so much over the last past 3 years. We helped more than 240 entrepreneurs, scientists, researchers working in the best 40 universities. Now they have startups working in healthcare, pharmaceuticals, digital health services, among other things. All together, we reached 108 companies, and I had a look this morning on evaluation, and it's worth of more than $4 billion. This is a very successful model. $400 million. In response to your question, there are many pillars to be built. As just Francis said, technology transfer is important, and he elaborated on that concept. In Egypt last year, for example, we were the second country when it comes to research output. We have many scientists abroad working in medicine, life skills, and we issue 2,000 patents a year. But the capacity for transforming this patent into real products is limited because of two main things. First, because we cannot afford making or doing scientific research because it's scientific research. This scientific research should be oriented towards solving the problems of the community or the continent. Second, my professors, my mentors in the scientific community, we should think beyond the teaching load, the publication. You go to your university and you need to think, what is the output of your experience or experiment? Can this come up with a new product? And I think internationally speaking, we need to be serious as academia to tackle and control the diseases and improve the living conditions. That's why we need to have all the resources in the UK available here. I hope so. Also, the second pillar, which has to do with funding. Technology companies need much time for R&D to come up with a new product or to generate an investment return. That's why financing tool there is quite different, and I'm quite confident that you heard about the venture capital, or what we call the risk venture, and this is the kind of financing we need. Risk capital has played a major role in telecommunication sector. It helped Google, Amazon, Facebook. Also, in the health sector, risk venture capital has played a major role in the medical companies. We exceeded $32 billion, which is 3 times the amount we generated 3 years ago. We need this kind of financing. The pivotal role should be played. Third, if I may add, The market opportunity should be taken into consideration. We are a huge company and a huge market in the MENA region, and we expect an increase in the healthcare spending, and we need to take that into consideration. The main idea is that if you have the opportunity and you have the capacity and capability, then the question is when and where. When is now, not tomorrow and not later, because the challenge is immense. Where? Here in Egypt. Of course, I'm biased to my country, but I can justify this if I may. Last year or during the past 5 years, you had a state who could go for many economic reforms. Stanley had a report about the Egyptian economy. Now you have an overall of infrastructure. Last night we were celebrating Egypt chairmanship of the AU. We are after achieving the 2063 African agenda, but in a personal sense, the will of the political leadership is very important, and this should come at the heart of the events in order for us to be encouraged. Thank you so much, Dr. Mina Bekhit, for your important contribution, and we expect much of you in the coming period. As you just mentioned, Amr, one of the things that I'm very proud of is my participation in the World Youth Forum in Sharm el-Sheikh, and Your Excellency the President awarded me a prize, and this motivated me and encouraged me to work better for myself and in the region. And now we are trying to found the model that is conducive to our region. That's why we spend much time understanding the Egyptian market. Today, we are honored to announce the founding of a Panacea company for the MENA region as the main risk capital. We have $40 million in order to give young scholars the opportunity to transform their brilliant ideas into real products in the health sector service. We will do so in cooperation with many investment companies, international organizations. Dr. Khaled helped us a lot, because I really like the idea that as a researcher you should be aware of your rights, duties, responsibilities, and the way forward. We need to found such companies in Egypt. We need all the intellectual property to be in Egypt. We need to collect the taxes in Egypt, but you might need certain services that are not available. Last point to make, please, before concluding, that all what I mentioned couldn't be real without the World Youth Forum. We have a chance to be seized. The World Youth Forum is the partner of our company in order to access many resources, and this is very crucial. That's why I want to thank World Youth Forum. Thank you so much, Dr. Mina, and I think Professor Sarah, Dr. Khaled, here Mina stands ready to cooperate with you. And now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Dr. Khaled Abdel Affar, Minister of Scientific Research and Higher Education. After what we have heard from the panelists here, we have much to talk about when it comes to developing the future of scientific research to develop the health sector.
Yes, actually, as Mina said, like Mina thankfully said, the presence of Egypt in Nature magazine among the advanced countries in the field of scientific research in 2018 is the result of huge efforts. We managed to focus to conduct researches on par to be published in the highest level publications. But indeed, this is not enough. We have researchers and we have the figures, whether from Sivago or Saival, that Egypt is ranked 35 worldwide in terms of the international publication around 192 countries. But the question remains lingering. What's the outcome of these researches? What's the value, whether in the field of health or others? Talking about the field of scientific research and the health field, I think that intellectual property right and transfer of technology, the pivots of this presentation, are very important. Always in Africa and developing countries, we get technology transferred. We have no role to play. So if technology transfer is done vertically, which means transferring technology from an exporting technology country to a technology importing country, we will be on a standstill. Otherwise, we have to head to the vertical venture, which means how to transfer from the applicable researchers to the development center, research centers in the factories, and this is indeed a problem in the developing countries. I see that the solution of this problem comes from the idea you presented, Mina, which is venture capital or private equity. The companies who manage to finance the researchers and the scientific research, there is no given country that can depend solely on its resources to get applicable scientific research. This is indeed an important factor. Let me tell you about the journey of Egypt in the field of scientific research in general and healthcare in specific, in order to bring you to the spotlight. The medical field in Egypt includes dentistry and natural physical treatments and traditional medicine. The history of medical laws in Egypt gets back to 1827. The first medical school was in Abu Zabal. It was affiliated to a military hospital, and it graduated the first batch in 1832. So the medical history in Egypt goes far, far back in history. At this time, at the reign of Muhammad Ali Pasha, he introduced the scholarships abroad. He sent a lot of scholarships to France, and this history is very significant because with time we have to build on the history and we have to build on the previous efforts. Until in 1925, the School of Medicine was affiliated to Qasr al-Aini University. This may be the first in the Arab world and in the first university in Africa to have a medicine school and provides scientific research for the students. Followed by Alexandria University in 1942, then Ain Shams in 1947, then in 1960, Asyut University. All of this made us boast to have a huge part of our medical history related to training our colleagues and brothers in the Arab countries out of the joint history. More than 15,000 students from the Arab world study in Egypt in the medical field, around 2,648 scholarships for all the medical sciences in the Egyptian universities. We also have on the African level more than 20,000 students either having scholarships provided by the Egyptian government or on their own expense or expenses from their own countries, from all the African countries. And this shows that the medical field and medical universities in Egypt have resonated in all over Africa and the Arab countries. The education system was managed along the school years in order to build an advanced scientific research. We have to have an eye on what the world does in scientific research. The cabinet, hence in 2018, decided to go with the International Federation for Medical Education in order to provide a study that copes with the international regulations. This transforms the study method to the certified hour system in accordance with the requirements of the medical study future. Hence also is the importance of cooperation, and through the assignment of His Excellency the President, we developed the tests in order to comply with the international measurement criteria. We cooperated with a lot of entities, reaching finally with a pioneering experience in Egypt by unifying the text on the level of 21 universities and 18 governorates and more than 8,216 students having their tests done on international criteria. All of this is in preparation to managing to assess the students and to train them in order to commence their business all over the world. There had to be a unified test in order to be able to measure the abilities and in order to give licensing to practice the profession. And a couple of days ago, it has been approved. The law of practicing medicine has been approved. All of this has created a stir of excellence in the field of medical studies, and we have noticed this through the presence of Egyptian universities in the international ranking. Like Cairo University, it's among the 300th to 400th of the world, and also Alexandria University. And this world ranking depends on scientific research, and the research is published worldwide. Also Cairo University and Alexandria University and Mansour University in the field of dentistry are ranked 321, and also in the field of pharmaceuticals we are ranked 150 around the world. And we are also among, many sectors are among the 500 ranking around the world. Scientific research eventually is based on research centers and institutions and universities. So the source of developing scientific research comes from three sources. So there should be an ecosystem through which we can achieve what we aspire for. Egypt has 113 university-related hospitals, including more than 32,000 beds, with investments more than 6 billion Egyptian pounds. I'm talking about the new hospitals. Also, great developments have been done to the previously built hospitals, enabling scientific research in the field of health. Also, the development has come to provide more than 18 million citizens in 2018. We provide health services to all of these citizens. Talking about the technology for the future, we will have to talk about legislations that enable real, concrete scientific research. Egypt has done this through technology and the innovation incentives law, and also increasing the funding for scientific research through the Fund for Technology and Sciences, and also the environment, the enabling environment in universities have been boosted by the state. All of these efforts will enable us in the future to work to boost this environment, enabling scientific research and technology. In order to understand the importance of scientific research and intellectual property, I can tell you that more than maybe 80% of the companies all over the world depend, as my colleagues said, on intellectual property. So intellectual property in companies like Apple, Amazon, Alibaba, Microsoft, and Facebook, the economical power lies in the power of intellectual property. The economies of knowledge, economies of scientific research lies in the idea. How can we use ideas to achieve a huge part of what we aspire to achieve? Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid Abdel Ghaffar, Minister of Scientific Research and Higher Education, for your invaluable speech. Maybe one of the experiences that we always feel proud of is the Egyptian presidency initiative, 100 million health and treatment of 100 million Egyptians from one of the harshest and most severe illnesses in Egypt. We have managed during a few months to treat millions and to scan millions of the Egyptians in order to make sure that they are free of the C virus, and also treat those who have been positively approved of holding the disease. I think that we have reached more than 35 million. Dr. Hala Zaid, now the floor is yours.
In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate, Your Excellency, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Excellencies, dear guests, my answer to your question is that we are starting the 42 million of the... Sorry, I missed the 3 days of the campaign, and now we were 35, and now it's 42. Yes, because every day we are screening more than 60,000 persons. In fact, my speech is very meaningful because we are making links between health care, scientific research, and the youth. Why the youth? I need to ask this because all my speech does not revolve around a dream, but rather a reality, something that we can provide to our land, to our continent, at the hands of our people, the graduates of the presidential program. The relationship between scientific research and healthcare is interrelated and on a very continuous basis, because we need to identify our needs, then build the databases, and during this 100 Million Healthy Lives campaign, we could analyze the data to generate a solutions action plan to improve the healthcare services. And it's a continuous project, because we go back to review. The Ministry of Health has taken many steps when it comes to technology transfer and building on scientific research through 3 main pillars. Of course, there are many pillars, but due to time constraints, I need to focus on the most important 3 pillars. Industry, and here I'm referring to pharmaceutical companies, especially HCV drugs and insulin, among with other vaccines. Also, we started a national project, and next year we will tell the success story about plasma manufacturing. Also, digital technology is very effective, and the state is embarking on digitization. We have automated many projects, many services, and now we have distance medicine or tele-med services. Also, innovation. We facilitated all the procedures in order for people to issue patents and to innovate and create. Of course, Zuwail City, Zuwail University is a pioneer in this regard. We are working hard with this university, and we submitted the IRP, or the academic research ethics, and the project was approved. We also work with the central labs of the Ministry of Health in order to produce a product to help all the countries of the world to screen people for HCV. Now we are digitizing everything, making all the medicines affordable for 3 months. The cost was $8,000, and now it's $50 with the help of the Egyptian companies. And yesterday I talked with Dr. Francis, who is the chairperson of the patent community in the UN, and drugs patents, with the help of the WHO, could be popularized in order to allow our country, with the vision of His Excellency the President of the Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, could be produced and manufactured. Here today I could confidently say that we embarked on a serious journey for insulin and erythrobutene, and also also we produce some drugs for treating oncology. We are accredited by the WHO and FDA to manufacture many drugs locally in Egypt. We have good factories here, and we are partnering with African countries to unify the registration procedures in order for all the African people to enjoy the drugs. We need to share this knowledge because these drugs were manufactured at a very affordable cost. Also, we could register a new drug and treatment for malaria. It was approved by the FDA in the US. It was registered here in the Ministry of Health in Egypt. We have factories whose capabilities is 3 tons a day. This product can be manufactured from the plant waste because it depends on the chlorophyll, and we could spray much of the quagmires with this drug in order to control the spread of malaria and to control the spread of different flies. Also, technology enabled us to conduct many other projects. Now we are working on manufacturing plasma, and we are way ahead in this with the support of the WHO, and we entered into contract with one of the most prominent experts of collecting plasma, and we are working on founding 12 centers for this, and we expect 36,000 of volunteers in order to produce 300,000 liter plasma with its derivatives. What is the role of technology in developing healthcare services? Now I would like to present how digitization in the Ministry of Health helped a lot. We automated many services. We analyzed big data in diagnosis through telemed. The political vision was translated in a presidential decree number 89 of 2017 to found the Supreme Council for the Digital Economy, after which a Prime Minister decree was issued in order to enforce this presidential decree, and we founded a unit for digitization in the Ministry of Health run by a group of youth who are the graduates of the presidential program. And they started with us this system of digitization, especially in the medical insurance part. Digitization means linking data, means data analysis, data collection. We need to have effective communication between service providers and receivers in order to plan the services based on the evidences available. Some examples or some real stories that we worked on. I would like to say that most of these stories are in-house, designed in the Ministry of Health at the hands of the staff working in the ministry. We provided them with a space to innovate and create, and they could do a lot. One use could automate the information of 14 governorates in Egypt, and more than 300 of dairy outlets. This dashboard that we have give us a real-time data about the dairy products in order to have a strategic reserve in this regard. With this innovation, we could increase the coverage to be more than 3 months. Automation of birth and mortality rates, and here we have a kind of integration between the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Planning and institutional reform. The partnership between these two ministries allowed us to automate the data in more than 4,571 offices. The daily numbers we get are very very significant and telling. They can help us understand a lot about the mortality reasons, to identify the most vulnerable age groups, to have an overview of the birth rate in which countries is high and why. We also work on big data, and we can analyze this big data to go out or to come up with good studies in order to implement the health plans in the best possible manner. We have this for the medical insurance, we have this for the HCV, we have this for birth and mortality, and for the e-medical record file, the initiative entitled 100 Million Healthy Lives is very beneficial, and this goes beyond diagnosis, screening for all the citizens in order to control one of the most serious disease, as 84% of the deaths are attributed to this disease. Now we have an automated database. We have 20,000 data entry staff are working on this, and they are all linked through one secure system, and all the data for citizens are also secured, and this is a snapshot of the real-time dashboard we have in the operation room for HCV and non-communicable diseases. Here we are working hard to get some indicators upon which we could formulate health plans and strategies. Here we have the data entry clerics, and here we have the staff working in the hotline, in the call center for HCV and non-communicable diseases. This software was designed in-house. A 30-year-old youth designed this. Engineer Haytham Salah designed this software. He visited us. The head of the health sector of the World Bank visited us, and when we had a look on the software, he asked us which multinational company designed this, and we said Haytham did that. And I met yesterday with Dr. Francis, and I told him that under the directives of His Excellency the President, the software and the IP rights, along with the waiting list IP, will be registered in the WIPO, and under the directives of the political leadership, we will make this available as an open source software for the African countries. We could share this software in order to give a hand to these African countries. We can share these successes in order to work together, and many African countries have much to offer as well. Also, the waiting list system had made a frog leap in the second phase. You know, people used to get a decision which we cannot follow up on the implementation of, which now patients can register, hospitals register as well. Now it's a paperless ecosystem, and we are working in the second stage, of course, the treatment of which is done at the expense of the state. Now we have quality control for this system. Also, the automation of the medical insurance has to do with the facilitation of service delivery, and for making sure that financial sustainability is in place. This is the system that we work accordingly. And this is the interface. This is the way we register the data of the Egyptian families. Thank you so much. A last point to make, please, Amr, if I may. I need to refer to the role played by many partners, or the line Minister, General Intelligence, Administrative Control Authority. But I need to mention the role played by Africa. The chairmanship of Egypt to the AU can serve as a springboard for all of us. We graduated 311 scholarships and associates from these scholarships. 4 days ago, I was in Geneva and I met Dr. Tadros. We went there with one goal in mind. How can we, with the help of the WHO and with the presidency of the AU, can help African countries and exchange knowledge? And this is what he wrote after our meeting. This reflects his thanks to the efforts exerted in Egypt to combat hepatitis C, and he thinks that African countries can learn from Egypt. He praises the extraneous efforts exerted by His Excellency President of Egypt during this campaign. Please, last point to make. Here I want to play Don't Fear Tomorrow. As long as you're like this.
لن يقتلني فيروس الكبد، بل أنا سوف أقتله. قوم يا مصر. هنفضل كلنا ايد واحدة ضد أي حاجة تهددنا.
معاني الإنسانية
إنك تداوي صرخة مريض.
اوعوا تفتكروا دي النهاية، دي البداية.
المرض كان صعب عليا خالص. ألف شكر.
تحدي إننا نكون 100 مليون صحة.
شكرا يا ريس.
الحمد لله أنا اطمنت على نفسي وعلى أسرتي.
أرملي أوديغا حاربيرو أرملي يحبيريرو أرملي ويريرو يحبيريرو مدينة جورو.
احنا بنفتخر اننا شاركنا في حملة 100 مليون صحة.
أرولوكو دمنو رئيس أرملك كدنرو رئيس.
المبادرة إنها جت من حد قال.
طيب أستاذن حضراتكم نستمع أيضا إلى فيديو قصير حول تطوير المستشفيات الجامعية.
Of university-affiliated hospitals. Thank you very much, Dr. Khaled.
على أرض هذا الوطن صروح علاجية تعليمية لطالما شكلت قاطرة الخدمات الطبية المميزة
that have been privileged and distinguished all over the years, not only for the direct health services they provide for each and every Egyptian, but also for its participation in serving the medical field, training and scientific research, in order to act really as springs of good. I hope that the people give assistance to the hospital. Why is that? In order to help the children in turn. We as a ministry and the state will save no efforts that we can do. Also in a response, prompt response from the state and from the Ministry of Scientific Research, developments have been paid to the university-affiliated hospitals as part of the plan of achieving the Egypt's 2030 Sustainable Development Plan, and the figures speak for themselves. 25 hospitals have been built between 2014 and 2019, getting the total number of university-affiliated hospitals from 88 to 113. Also accompanying this is increasing the number of beds with an increased percentage of about 20%. During this period, the number of the visitors to these hospitals have raised from 16 million to 18 million. Also, the number of operations and surgeries have increased from 460,000 to 887,000 operations, with an increase of around 93%. Coping with the technological and scientific advances is indeed one of the objectives of the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. They were persistent to equip the university-affiliated hospitals with the information systems and equipment and prioritizing them on all odds. A central lab has been built to serve the hospital complex of Asyut University, one of the state-of-the-art in the Middle East, which provides a distinguished service for the patients in Upper Egypt. Also underway is the first reference lab on the level of the university-affiliated universities to be the first in Middle East and North Africa in administering the quality tests, and also the American Disease Control Center inside the Ain Shams University, and it's expected to start operation the 1st of April 2019. Also, development has gone to the extensive care units and the incubators and the operation theaters in all the universities, and have been equipped with the state-of-the-art equipment according to the highest international criteria. Also, intensive care unit beds have been increased by 59%, and infant incubators have been increased by 30%. Complementary to the role of the university-affiliated hospitals has gone way beyond providing the services to the citizens and the students, to the participation of the national campaigns, whereby the university hospitals have administered more than 130,000 surgeries, increasing 36%, and also reducing the wait lists between last July and now, and also the initiative of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to get rid of the waiting lists for the critical surgery interventions, and also participation in 100 million healths, and eliminating hepatitis C virus and providing 22 labs in the universities and research centers, supervised by a central office at the higher Council for University-Affiliated Hospitals. Also, in service of the special needs children's 4 centers, rehabilitation centers, have been introduced to the Faculty of Higher Education for Pediatricians. And also, training have been provided to the students of the faculties of medicine, natural and physical therapy, and equipping their laboratories with the state-of-the-art treatment equipment, as well as supporting their participation in service of the scientific research, including nanotechnology and stem cell applications. The achievements of the Ministry of Higher Education and Research continue all over the fields, and it will be a spotlight on the way of building the Egyptian citizen and providing what they deserve of services. We would be happy if we have an intervention from His Excellency the President. Thank you very much, Amr, but please allow me to comment on all the speeches delivered by your panelists. Would let me say that scientific research is indeed an industry. The components of this industry may be available in our countries in Africa and especially in Egypt, but there is a question. Is the efficiency of this industry on par on its efficiency in the advanced countries? Of course not. Accordingly, we may only have higher quality in terms of the human resources. So the possibilities of the distinguished minds in our countries may be higher than, but the remaining parameters, it's a different story. Of course, all appreciation to the advanced countries for the mechanisms they provided in order to attract the distinguished minds. So it's not only the minds of their youth, young people in UK or the USA or whatever, they also further introduced mechanisms in order to manage to attract more and more of minds for industry. Industry and technology are available and they are developing because we have the financing. And the financing is there not only because they provide it, but because industries there in the advanced countries have already been completed. They have taken the ideas, the researches, and transformed them into a commodity. This commodity has taken its path to the markets. So they have no problems. So day after day, their industry, this industry in the advanced countries develop. But here in our countries, it needs more efforts. Her Excellency, the Minister, said that we have young people like Haytham Salah and Mina and others like them. Are we able to give them the opportunity? We are trying, given the quality of education we have, because I can't have good minds and not give them good education in order to go with their mind abilities and to be distinguished. Even if I didn't manage to give them an opportunity, they have to take and grasp this opportunity elsewhere for the sake of humanity. We shouldn't be selfish in our countries and say that given that Mina or his peers are Egyptians, they have to stay here. No, minds travel everywhere. And I would like to say that in the time being, if we can't manage to place this sort of industry in its ample state, I would reiterate what Mina said, and I salute him for that. Let's participate. Let's share this. If we have distinguished minds, we can send them elsewhere, and if they succeed there, we can have part of their minds back, because we have provided them education, we have provided them financing. So why not you give us back part of their minds? You keep the products they produce, and so maybe you can revisit the cost of such services when you provide them to us. Like what I've listened, that the costs for treating hepatitis C is skyrocketing, at least as far as Egypt is concerned. $10,000 maybe in order to treat someone from hepatitis C. This is indeed very high. So if an Egyptian or an African young man from any country travel to elsewhere in the world and using their abilities and persistence and perseverance, because mind without perseverance will yield nothing. So why not agree with them that when we dispatch our young people to the UK, for example, we can sign a protocol with the universities there so that all the youth that go from here to there and provide something enriching to the scientific research and get a product that can be handled, we may have the right to get this product. A lot of talk has been exchanged, and the word financing is reiterated a lot, and I would like to bring my voice to all of those who are present in this room, even those who are watching us live. I always used to say, always think of where you get something and how much would it cost. Nothing is done without asking the questions from where and for how much. Talking about hepatitis C, financing should have been provided. Also, the 100 million health campaign financing should be provided. Also, the capabilities of our youth, and we, as an older generation, not out of position but out of confidence, we should relay this confidence to our young people, young men and women, and to bring our hands together for them. And for this respect, I would like you to bring your hands together for Haytham Salah. When I was talking with the minister about this topic, she said that there's a young man at the ministry who has done this. I told her this is not a company. She told me no, it's not a company. It's just a young man. So once again, the minds of such young people would shorten the time to achieve this sort of industry. We have been hearing universities for over 800 years. We don't have a 800-year-old university. Let the young people affect us and shorten the time and the distance. Our young men and women. I always say that my goal, and this should be the goal of all of us, is the good people, the people with sound minds, the people with sound abilities, the people with sound morals and ethics, or else we will stray from the right path. To brief, this is an industry, scientific research is an industry, and whether in the health field or otherwise, there are mechanisms successful in other countries. They are stable as well. Do we lack these? Yes, we lack them. We have something, but it is not up to the standards to at least get us going. And it remains that we as a state and the government, with our political will, we have to exert all efforts in order to give an opportunity to the distinguished minds to be with us and to lead us, and for us to be happy with them leading us. Because this is a God-gifted ability. I don't want to take so much of your time. Thank you very much, and thank you for the 2 short movies. Still remains one statement I would like to say to our young people, young men and women from Africa. What we have in Egypt, with all modesty and appreciation, we will happily give to you if you will make use of it. Thank you very much, Excellency Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President, and now we still have the recommendations about this session that will be adopted at the end of the meeting, and we hope that you can send your recommendations on the specific hashtag. Thank you, Excellency President. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.